Hello and welcome back to Oblivion. Today we're going to be taking a look at all of the Daedric Artifacts and we're going to be ranking them here in our tier list from the best to the absolute worst. So we have a couple different tiers here where we have the Gift of the Princes. These are some of the best Daedric Artifacts that you can get, and I would highly recommend them for almost any build unless you start getting like some of the generic stuff that's really good, which in certain cases in Oblivion that's kind of like the best stuff. We also have the Cursed Curios, which are pretty good and can be useful for certain builds, but maybe aren't quite as good. It depends on what you're going for when you get them. Then we've got the Forgotten Relics, things that are just kind of okay, nothing way crazy. And then we have the Mortal Trinkets, ones that generally you don't really need to be going for or won't really help out that many builds. So let's begin, and let's just start from the top, going in alphabetical order. So first up, we have Azura, and this is Azura's Star. This one, you only have to be level 2 to complete the quest, so it is one of the earliest ones that you can do. And what the Star does is that it's basically just a Grand Soul Gem that is reusable. So whenever you want to be stealing souls, and then recharging things, whether it be staffs or unique weapons, the star will help you do that. You'll always have at least a vessel to be getting souls from. That is going to be better the later the game goes, since you're probably not going to have a weapon that can steal souls right away, or you may not have a spell that can do it, unless maybe you tag like Mysticism right away, and then went and got yourself a soul tap spell, and then it could actually be okay. This one is generally pretty good. It's kind of just a bonus to any build, so I'm going to put it in the cursed tier. I think it's still pretty good, even if you don't really care if your build is using magic all that much. Like, you're still probably going to have a magic weapon over a non-magic weapon, even if it's just like this weapon does like 10 more fire damage. That's going to be better than like a sword that doesn't have the 10 fire damage that has like equal stats to it. So even in that role, like the star could be useful. Maybe less useful if you don't have any way of soul tapping right away, but it's still pretty decent. Then we've got Goldbrand. This one requires you to be level 20 in order to get. And this one is a pretty cool weapon. This one has some of the highest stats out of any weapon in Oblivion, where this one is pretty much the same as like the katanas that you can get, but it has a gold blade to it, and it does fire damage. So this one does 25 damage base, which is quite high. That's one of the highest amounts of damage out of really any of the weapons. There's only a couple of weapons that can do more than that. And this one does 22 fire damage on top of it with every hit. That's really good, especially for a blades build. Like, if you're going blades, this is probably going to be one of the best swords in the game. The only ones I can think are better than this are, like, Umbra, which we're going to be talking about here in a second, since that one has higher base damage. Although this one's going to hit harder per hit if the enemies are weak to fire or even just neutral to fire, so there's that going for it. Maybe, like, Chillren's going to hit harder than this, because that hits with ice and weakens enemies to ice, so that one can still probably do more damage than this. The Dawn and Dustfang might technically do more, since you don't have to worry about soul gems with that one, since it'll just keep recharging itself. And like the Madness Longsword, I think like the Daedric Longswords can also potentially do more than this and have higher fire damage by like 3, because I think the max fire damage you can find on a weapon is 25. You could still enchant a weapon to do potentially more than this too. But if we're counting like enchanting stuff and making your own spells, and like those are kind of overpowered anyway. Like compared to the other Daedric artifacts, like Goldbrand is really good. I'd put it up into the Gift of Princes if you're going with a blade weapon. Then we've got the 2 artifacts that you can get from Clavicus Vile, which this one you also have to be level 20 in order to start the quest, where you can either get the mask or you can get Umbra. The mask is pretty awful. The mask is like, it's kind of a cool looking helmet, but all it does is have fortify personality by 20 points. So kind of better if you want to be like upping Mercantile and like Speechcraft, but you can literally max out Speechcraft pretty easily just by talking to people, even if you're bad at it. Mercantile you can just max out by buying and selling stuff, and if you have like, let's say Alchemy maxed out, you're gonna have a really easy time in getting Mercantile maxed out too, just because you can make so much money from that. This one I just don't think is very good. It's the worst of the 2 options that you do have, so this one's gonna go into Mortal Trinkets. I just don't think it's that great. Umbra on the other hand is much better, because Umbra is the highest damaging weapon in the game, at least per hit. At least out of the swords. I think some of the hammers can actually do more than it, but this has a base of 28 damage. It has Soul Trap on it too by 120 seconds. So even if you just want to hit something once with this and then steal its soul, so you can put it in like Azure Star to recharge it or recharge Goldbrand or any of the other weapons we're going to be talking about, like this one is still very, very strong. The only kind of problem with Umbra is once you get it, not a whole lot of other weapons really compete with it. Like Goldbrand, sure, if you're fighting enemies that are weak to fire or just neutral against it. Chillrend again, if they're weak to ice or even just kind of neutral towards ice, then that one can beat it out too. And like the Madness Longsword, at least if you get like the unique or a unique version of it. then yeah. So like Umbra is going to go up into Gift of the Princess too. I think it's very good, and if you want to rush it, like as soon as you get to level 20, you're going to have a pretty decent weapon to be fighting off just about everything. Is it going to be the strongest weapon in the game? No, because you can make custom spells that are ridiculous, but it's still going to be quite good. Then we've got the word that I can't say. I can never say this one. The Necronomicon, the book that's bound in flesh, where this item is interesting because it's not really a weapon. This one you also have to be level 20 in order to get, and once you complete the quest, then you can get bonuses to your stats, whether this be like the attributes or the skills. So you could get bonuses to like speed and strength, or you could get it to like agility and speed. Willpower one is bugged on this one though, so I don't think it works the way that it's supposed to. Skills will also be associated with those type of ones, so if you go like speed and strength, you're also going to get like blade blunt or heavy armor, or I guess you're going to get all of these. This can make it so your skills go over 100 though too, since you can max them out at 100 and this gives plus 10 to them, so you can take it up to 110 for any of those stats. And that's pretty cool. This is actually really good for pretty much any build that you would want. It doesn't affect personality, luck, or endurance though, so you're going to have to pick like something else than those ones. That's not a huge deal though, since it's like luck doesn't matter so much. Like it does kind of matter, but not as much as the other skills do. Endurance would be nice to have with this too, and just gives you more HP overall, but that's perfectly fine if you don't have this. Hitting harder with like spells thanks to upping your intelligence, or hitting harder thanks to like your strength or your agility getting buffed is also good. And extra speed is always just nice to run around with. So like this one is fantastic too. I don't know if I would say like it's a gift from the princes. It's pretty good though, so I'm gonna put it in the cursed tier. Like I still think it's really good for most builds. It's just a buff overall, so like there's no reason to not go for it, but it does depend on what build you're going for and if it even really matters too much. Because I mean, like, this is cool, but you can also just make busted spells that you can just stack on top of one another, give you even more stats than this. So that's the only reason why I'm not putting it up higher, is because there is more busted stuff that you could do rather than just having above 100. Like, you can go way above that in Oblivion. Up next is the Savior's Hide. This one you get from killing a unicorn, which is a little bit disappointing. This one you have to be level 17 in order to get, and this one does look pretty cool. I like the look of this in the remaster. I think it looks a little lot better than what it did in the original. This one is light armor. It actually has pretty good armor though, and it's just the chest piece, so you can still have all the rest of your stuff like a helmet, legs, things like that. It has good armor, doesn't weigh very much, and it has resist magic by 25%. Like, if you're going with a light armor build, which I personally don't like light armor as much as heavy. I think heavy looks cooler, as well as like maxing out heavy is kind of nice just to not have the heavy armor weigh anything. Like, the light armor is still really good though. If you want to go with light armor, I would say that this one's also into the cursed curios. Like, it's very good. Then we have Volendrung. This is the two-handed hammer, which looks very devastating with like the spikes on it. This one you have to be level 10 in order to do the quest for. This quest is kind of bugged. At least I had it bugged out where you're supposed to go and like rescue the ogres. And then I just had like the mine guards following me around for almost the entire game. They would just randomly show up even after they had died. It also helped me get into the Dark Brotherhood the last time I played too, which was kind of funny since they counted as like innocent even though they were trying to attack me out in the middle of nowhere. So it worked out for me. This weapon is potentially good and potentially not way strong compared to some other things, because this one does do 20 damage per hit, which is very good. It does weigh a lot, like pretty much all of the Warhammers do in this game. And this one has the ability of draining 5 health for 20 seconds, which is good. That's a decent amount of poison damage. And then it also has Paralyze for 3 seconds. Paralyze is definitely one of the strongest status effects that you can inflict on enemies in this game. So there is that, as well as since this is a blunt weapon, and if you have such high blunt, then you can also silence enemies. I mean, if they're paralyzed, they can't do anything anyway, but silencing them on top of it's pretty good. Paralyze is really nice, but I still find this awkward. And it's still not as good as like going with some other two-handed like hammers. Like there's some better ones, especially in like Shivering Isles where there's the unique one there. And there's also like the Amber Hammer that you can get that does more damage. Some of the other ones do more damage. The paralysis also isn't that big of a deal, because if you make like paralysis poison, you can put that on any weapon and you just hit the enemy and they go down. And you really only need it for that first hit. You don't need it for like every hit afterwards, because then you're just using up more charges on your weapon. So like this one I'm going to put like probably in the forgotten one. It's just a weapon that I don't really use. I'd be curious to hear what you guys think about this one though. Do you guys use it? I just found that it's not super necessary for like even when I'm running blunt builds. Then we have the Ebony Blade. You have to be level 15 to get this one or to do the quest for this one. This one does 23 damage per hit, which is pretty good. That's pretty high damage. As well as this one has the enchantments of Absorb Health. This is 8 health, and it also has Silence for 10 seconds, which Silence is good, but then, like I said, every blunt weapon can do this if you're going for that. Now, if you're not going for blunt weapons and blade weapons, then this is a bonus, but you could also just make a poison that silences enemies too if you're really worried about that and put it on your weapon. This is another one that I don't really use, even though it's a cool looking weapon. I just don't think it's that great. I would rather have like the other 2 swords over this, so I'm also going to put this into like the Forgotten Relics. Then we have the Ring of the Khajiiti. This one you have to be level 10 in order to do the quest for, and this one's pretty good. This one doesn't weigh very much like all the rings, and this one gives you 35% chameleon and fortifies your speed plus 10. Like the extra fortify speed is kind of cool, that's sort of whatever, moving around faster is nice, but 35% chameleon is really good, because you can get like another ring that's around 35%, that's not super hard to find, especially in the late game, and then you have 70% chameleon. Make yourself like a chameleon potion or use a chameleon spell. You're going up like to 100% or you're going up to like 90%, which makes it so any sort of sneak mission becomes incredibly easy. It also just makes it incredibly easy to beat the game, because if you're 100% sneaking, pretty much all of your sneak hits are going to be crits, and you're just doing like insane amount of damage if you want to be using the bow or the dagger or swords or whatever. Like anything is really strong. So like in this way it can be really busted, but that's more like chameleon being busted. This just allows you to do it even easier. So I mean, even just by itself, I would say that this one's still like up into the cursed curios. Like it's still a very, very good ring. You just need like another ring and something else to combine with it. Another piece of armor that has chameleon, or a potion that also gives you chameleon. Then we have the Mace of Molag Bal, which this one took me like the longest to actually get the quest started. You only have to be level 17 to get this quest started, but you have to use a lion's hide to get it, and that is just like one of the hardest items to find. Like I just found like shops weren't selling it to me, and I just couldn't find lions, as well as I didn't keep a hide from them. So that could be kind of annoying. It took me like a solid hour of streaming just trying to find a lion to kill or a shop that could sell it. And funny enough, I think I found a lion and then went somewhere else and there was an invisible lion nearby. Like that was another one that had the chameleon effect on it. So like that could have been the reason why I wasn't finding the lions either. Either way, the mace itself is pretty good. This one does 25 damage per hit, which is very strong. That is really good for a blunt weapon. I think that's tied with the Crusader's mace as well. I think it's the same amount of damage. But this one also has Absorb Strength and Absorb Magic by 5 points. The bonuses from this just aren't that good. Like the stats are really good on this. So if you want to get it like as soon as you can, if you're going with a blunt build, it's probably going to be decent, because you're at least going to have a stat stick then. It's just, you're probably going to swap this out for like a Daedric mace that has any sort of element damage on it, because it's just going to hit harder. Same thing kind of goes with, like, if you go for the Crusader's mace, because you can at least infinitely recharge that one. And you could say the same thing about Goldbrand, where, like, you're probably not going to go for that when you could just go for the Crusader's sword, but at least in the same way, Goldbrand still has good damage, and it has a bonus effect on it, just not quite as strong as some of the other ones. So this one I would also say is like in the Forgotten Relics. It's just not that necessary to go for. It's still decent though. Like the damage on it is still good. Then we have the Ring of Namira, and this ring is also really good. This is probably one of the best rings in the game. There are potentially better rings, like the Mundane Ring, which gives you like an insane amount of spell reflection and magic resist. This one gives you 12% reflect damage and 10% spell reflect, which, I mean, if you stack all reflect damage on it, reflect damage is probably one of the strongest effects in the game, especially if you want to be playing on like the master difficulty, or if you want to be playing on the expert difficulty. It's really good. Even on the lower difficulties, it's still super nice, because even if you're playing like fairly defensively, this one is still just a bonus. So I'm going to put this one up into the Gift of Princes. It's really good. Oh, and you have to only be level 5 in order to get this one. The other thing is that you need low personality to get it. An easy way to get below 20 personality, though, is just buy a bunch of cheap wines or steal a bunch of cheap wines. They're all over the place. They're not hard to find at all. And then just chug all those before you go and talk to the shrine, and you're probably good to go. It's kind of funny how easy this ring is to get. And then we got the Skeleton Key. This one is crazy. This one you only have to be level 10 to get. This one is just an item that you put in your inventory, and it makes it so any of your lockpicks are unbreakable. As soon as you get this one, it does not matter what level of lock you're going up against, you're going to break into it. And the easiest way to do it is just go right into the lock and just keep spamming the auto attempt, and you'll get in. It might take a while, especially on the very hard ones if your security skill is very low. This one also fortifies your security skill too, so like that's kind of good and kind of bad. It gives you plus 40 to it, but it doesn't really like let you go above that, so you would need to take this off if you want to max out your security. And if you took security as like one of your major skills, the skeleton key can actively kind of hurt you, so just don't do that, and then the skeleton key becomes amazing. So this one is definitely high end of Gift of Princes. It's one of the best Daedric artifacts that you can get in the game. Then we have the Spellbreaker. This one you also only have to be level 10 to get. And this one's another really good item. Like, it might get outcompeted later by certain other shields, but at level 10, it's really hard to pass this one up. This one's a unique Dwarven shield, which has good defense on it. Not as high as certain ones, but still really good. And has 30% reflect spell. That is kind of crazy. Like, 30% reflect spell is really good. Even once you start getting, like, the better shields that have more defense. Like, the only ones that I think would be better than this are, like, a Daedric shield that has reflect spell on it, or reflect damage on it. Or, like, a Madness shield that also has reflect damage. Unless you're not going with heavy armor and you're going with light armor, in which case then this one is worse. But 30% reflect spell is nothing to scoff at. Like, that is a lot. Especially if you don't really care about getting high leveled in this game. And especially if you just want to be running through like the main quest or something, or you're going through like a particular set of quests and you're trying to get stuff done, like the Spellbreaker is really good. I'm going to put this one up into the Cursed Curios. Like it's very, very nice. Then we got the Sanguine Rose. This one, you have to be level 8 to start the quest. And this one makes it so whenever you cast it at something, this can be a corpse or a person, it will summon a Daedra of some sort to attack the enemy. It's kind of funny to do this, and it's kind of nice for like an initiation, but I don't know if I've ever went with this as like a serious option. Like it's more fun than anything. Even when I'm going with like magic characters, I usually don't really use the staffs that much because like just making your own spells and using them is going to be stronger. So like the staffs just aren't way crazy in that regard, but this one is super fun. So I'm going to put it into the Forgotten Relics. Then we have the Wubbajack. And the Wubbajack is pretty fun. This one you only have to be level 2 in order to get to, which is very funny. You can just go and do Sheogorath's quest for this. The Wubbajack is not as crazy as it was in Skyrim, or not as crazy as it would get in Skyrim, depending on how you're looking at this. So whenever you use this, there's a chance of turning enemies into something else. This can turn into a couple different enemies. This is guaranteed to either be like the crocodiles, the deer, a goblin skirmisher, ogres, rats, sheep, skeleton champions, or a troll. I mean, if those are attacking other enemies, then that is potentially useful. Or if it's a stronger enemy that you turn into that so that you can kill them into the later game, that's also potentially useful. Like, the Wubbajack is more silly fun than anything. I don't think the Wubbajack's ever been way crazy. It's just been more silly to use than anything. So, like, it's going to go up into the Forgotten Relics, too. Like, I absolutely love it. But it's not really like one of the go-tos. It's not way crazy. And then our very last Daedric artifact, because we have Maroon Dagon's Razor here, but you can't really get that in Oblivion, at least as far as I'm aware. I think this list was made for like Skyrim stuff. I could be wrong about that. But either way, the last one we have is the Skull of Corruption. You can get this one at level 5. And this one makes it so you can have corruption for 30 seconds. And what corruption does is it basically makes a corrupt version of whatever you hit with it or whoever you hit with it that will then start attacking them. This does count as an assault if you use it against somebody. So it's not entirely harmless, but this is another very silly staff. It's similar to like the Rose, where you just kind of throw it at stuff and see what happens and sit back and watch. It's almost like using console commands to spawn in enemies just to see them fight one another. It kind of feels like that, but they just made it as like an actual item that you can use. So again, probably like another Forgotten Relic, not really that great, nothing way crazy from it, but still like very fun. And this is where I put all the Daedric artifacts. For the most part, they're generally pretty good. There is like that one exception with the Clavicus Vile one where it's like, it just, like, why would I take this over Umbra? Like, even if I don't intend on using Umbra, Umbra looks really cool. And I guess the only, like, other thing is, like, I'm not to endgame yet. And I don't have a helmet that does anything else, pretty much. That would be, like, the only reason I would take this. Or I really like the style of it. Either way, tell me your thoughts on the Daedric artifacts. Which ones are your favorite? Which ones do you like to use the most? Thank you guys so very much for watching this. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.